I want you to pay attention at just how much super energy I'm getting back with this build. If there are enough ads around, you can legitimately get supers within 30 seconds. I was actually doing a strike, and within 1 minute and 15 seconds, I had already gotten 3 supers just because there were so many ads around. Arc has always been one of my favorite subclasses, and with all the new stuff we received in Heresy, this build has just gotten so much better. I would actually argue it's one of the best builds on the Warlock right now, and it's only going to get stronger as the episode goes on. There's a lot of moving parts with this build, but once you understand it all, it is extremely effective and very easy to use. But real quick, before we jump into all of that, I do want to mention that I have a community Discord. If y'all like to come hang out and just game together, definitely be sure to join that. All the links will be down in the description. And finally, if you do enjoy this video, consider doing all the normal YouTube stuff and checking out some of my other content. I hate saying these things at the beginning of the video, but they really do help out, and all the support is truly appreciated. But without further ado, let's jump into our first build of Heresy. All right, starting off, let's first take a look at our exotic, the Geomax stabilizers. These actually recently did get buffed and changed, so it now reads close enough. Damaging targets with Chaos Reach extends its duration. Collecting Onyx Traces grants you energy for Chaos Reach. Sprinting while near max bolt charge will grant stacks over time. So Geomax stabilizers is going to be the main part of how you're going to be getting a lot of super energy back. Your subclass and weapons are going to be the things producing the Onyx Traces to get your super energy, but you have to have Geomax equipped to get that extra super. They actually buffed this to now grant 7% super energy every single Onyx Trace you pick up. So the goal of this build is to generate as many Onyx Traces as possible so you can constantly keep your super up. If you don't know, Onyx Traces also grant ability energy for every single one of your abilities, and we can play into that for the fragments and also just for the simple fact that we can spam abilities all the time. Now, the other benefit of Geomax now is that if you sprint while you're near max bolt charge stacks, it will actually top off the bolt charge. Bolt charge is a new mechanic that will stack up to 10, and once it is at 10, you basically make a mini ignition, but it's doing arc damage. It actually does do a good amount of damage, and with this build, you will be able to spam these all the time. You're going to be able to get bolt charge stacks a lot from our subclass, but with this, once you get around 6 or 7, you can actually start sprinting, and you will top it off, getting it to 10, and it's very reminiscent of how the old Geomax used to work. So just with that alone, Geomax is just giving you passive super energy, passive bolt charge stacks, and then if that wasn't enough, it also extends your duration of Chaos Reach. Chaos Reach has gotten buffed so many times at this point, it's actually a pretty decent super, and it even got buffed with the most recent patch, giving it 15% more damage. So Chaos Reach can absolutely destroy a ton of things. It's very good for ad clear, it's very good for single target damage. I'm not going to say it's the best super in the game by any means, but with how fast you can get your super, you can basically use it like any other ability cooldown. There is some specific interactions that I want to point out once we get to the aspects, and it actually amplifies the super even more. Speaking of aspects, let's actually jump into our subclass and talk about how all this is going to work to play into our Geomax. So first things first, we're taking an electrostatic mod. So defeating targets with arc abilities or defeating jolted or blinded targets creates an Onyx Trace. Collecting an Onyx Trace makes you amplified. So this aspect is what's going to be providing you most of your Onyx Traces. There will be a fragment, and even your choice of weapon can help out with it, but electrostatic mod is going to grant you a ton of Onyx Traces. This is any ability kill or any debuff kill. So jolted or blinded, everything will grant you an Onyx Trace. Again, these Onyx Traces not only grant you the ability energy that they normally would, but it also is going to grant you super energy. On top of that, with electrostatic mind, Onyx Traces will make you amplified when you pick them up, so it's another benefit of picking them up. Amplified is actually very good now. You get 15% damage reduction, you get the movement speed, and enemies are less likely to shoot you. So you always want to be amplified, and you always will be with this build, and amplify will also further play into some fragments as well. So just know you'll be permanent amplified, you're making permanent Onyx Traces to help out with Geomax, and it is very, very strong. Now to jump into our next aspect, this is going to be the brand new one, Onyx Sentry. So defeating targets with kinetic or arc weapons or arc abilities to charge up an arc turret that periodically change lightning between nearby targets, granting a stack of bolt charge with each hit. So with this aspect, what I want you to picture is just Gunpowder Gamble. This is basically Gunpowder Gamble, but for arc Warlock, and also you can use kinetic weapons. The very cool part about this is that you actually get this back extremely quick. It's so quick to the point you can have multiple out on the battlefield at one time. However, this does take your grenade slot, so just know if this is charged, you will throw this over your grenade. And I want to point out that this Onyx Sentry is more so like a stasis turret than a grenade or gunpowder gamble. It's not going to do a lot of damage. You basically want to throw it. It's going to sit there like how a stasis turret would, and it's going to just constantly chain lightning. It can kill a single target, but the main benefit is that it stacks a bolt charge. Every single time it's going to shoot an enemy, you will get a bolt charge stack, and it max stacks. Since this is technically an ability, it will proc the bolt charge, and that's where a lot of damage is going to come from. Kind of how a stasis turret has to sit there, freeze to get a shatter. That's where a lot of damage comes from. Also just crowd control in general. This, you basically want to let it sit there, do a good amount of damage just every single tick, but you're building the bolt charge stacks up in the background to eventually do a ton of damage. But speaking of the stasis turret and its crowd control, also at the same time, on the initial cast of this, it will actually blind enemies that you throw it near. So if you throw it near a group of enemies, it's not going to just be like a grenade insta kill everything, but it will blind everything and then build those bolt charge stacks up to kill them all. It's just a slow cooker. You can get a lot out in the battlefield, 2, maybe even 3 if you're lucky enough, and you can just have these going off like crazy. The blind from this can actually also blind you as well. It's not that big of a deal if you need to just throw it on the ground in front of you, but just know it will blind you as well. Now, the cool interaction between this and Chaos Reach is that if you throw this on a boss, it's going to sit there, it's going to constantly shoot the boss, build bolt charge stacks up, and while you're sitting there with Chaos Reach, you're constantly jolting the enemy, doing a ton of damage, and you will just proc the bolt charge stack because you're passively getting bolt charge because of the aspect. So if you ever are going into a boss damage phase, I would highly recommend trying to have an Onyx Sentry ready to go. You can throw this, you can even then throw a grenade if you would like to, but just know, throw the Onyx Sentry, pop your Chaos Reach, and you're going to do a ton of damage just sitting there wailing on the boss. Now for our other abilities and even our fragments, because these are going to play a massive part and synergize together very well. First off, our fragment is just going to be sparker resistant, so while surrounded by advantage, you're more resistant to incoming damage. This is great. You just get passive damage resistance. This is a no-brainer to take. Now, our next one is actually going to be spark of shock, so your arc grenades jolt targets. This is where your grenade is going to come into play. I would highly recommend pulse grenade. You can theoretically take whatever you would like to, but pulse grenade just lasts for a very long time. You can constantly keep reapplying jolt, and remember, since are jolting enemies, you are going to be able to proc electrostatic mine to make the onyx traces. So your grenades now can make onyx traces. If you want to take something like flashbang so you can blind targets and stun unstoppable champions, that's also very strong. And if you weren't aware, jolt can stun overload, blind, stun on stop. So that means things like your onyx sentry can actually stun unstoppable champions, and then you have your grenades to stun overload champions. Now for our next fragment, it's actually going to be spark of discharge. So our arc weapon final blows can create onyx traces. On top of that, whenever we collect an onyx trace, it will grant us a stack of bolt charge. So this is going to again further play into collecting onyx traces, which we can already make a ton of. Now we're going to get bolt charge stacks. So between our onyx sentry making bolt charge, between our onyx traces granting us bolt charge, and our geomags topping the bolt charge off, we literally have bolt charge all the time. And this is even before we get into the artifact. This is just straight up the subclass. Now we can also further help with that with spark frequency. So this is going to let, when you get a melee hit, you will actually just get a very large amount of reload speed and stability, which is nice. However, the other main benefit of this is the fact that when you're amplified, it's actually going to increase the amount of bolt charge stacks you get. So typically, if you're getting like 1 bolt charge stack, you're now just going to get 2. So these onyx traces are going to grant you bolt charge, but instead of giving you 1, you're going to get 2. The onyx sentry shooting is going to get you 1 bolt charge. You're now going to get 2 because you're always going to be amplified because the onyx traces are making you amplified. Like I said, there's a lot of synergy here. There's a lot of moving parts. Just know, pick an onyx trace up, amplify. You're getting 2 bolt charge stacks pretty much with everything you're doing. At 10, you will discharge, and between just getting 3 onyx traces, you're already at 6. Then you can then top it off with Geomax, and you could just have this bolt charge everywhere, supers going everywhere, abilities going everywhere. And for even more just synergy, you can take things like ball lightning because it is a very long range melee, and that actually will further play into spark frequency. So if you ever just need to get a melee hit to increase your reload speed, this is great because you can just throw it across the map, sort of like a grenade. This also low-key does a ton of damage because while you're amplified, it will do like more lightning bolts. And again, since stability, this will give you onyx traces for playing the bolt charge. It can discharge the bolt charge. Onyx sentry again can discharge the bolt charge to literally everything synergizes so well together. And I'm going to be honest, I know it's a lot, so if you have any comments, definitely be sure to leave them down below and I'll try to answer that. But just know you're going to make a ton of onyx traces ton of bolt charge stacks, and a ton of super energy. That's pretty much the TLDR. But how are we going to make that better? And that's going to be with our weapons. Now, your choice of weapons doesn't matter too much with this build. The only thing you need to know is to run an arc weapon. As you've seen for the gameplay, I've been running kind of everything, but there's some standout options, and one of those being Delicatune. Delicatune got some crazy buffs, and it is actually disgusting with the setup. You can literally make so many onyx traces, it just destroys anything you shoot it at. But if you don't like that, you can even take something like Subjunctive or just any arc weapon with Volt Shot, or just the other jolting feedback perk as well. You just want a way to apply a debuff, because again, applying the debuff is going to let you proc Electrostatic Mine. So Delicatune can proc Jolt, Volt Shot, Jolting Feedback can proc Jolt. They're going to work very well. Even the new Trace Rifle is good, because if you get the beam up, you can also jolt enemies with the special reload. It's a ton of fun. It works very well with this build. And then the final option is something like Cold Heart. Now, this isn't going to apply any debuffs, so you're not getting Electrostatic Mine, but it's going to make up for it with the fact that it's just going to generate Onyx Traces. You can make a ton of Onyx Traces with the Cold Heart. Again, we'll further play into everything, so it's totally up to you on how to run this. I've been, again, just running them all. Delicatune's definitely been the most fun for me, but I can imagine if you're going just in-game content, you can take any other, jolting feedback weapon just so you can sit back, kind of proc that jolting feedback, take something else, another exotic special, exotic heavy, anything like that. You can interchange it so much. Just know, have a way to apply an arc debuff, or run Cold Heart and make a ton of Onyx Traces. It's totally up to you. Now, jumping into the artifact, right now, there honestly isn't too much that's making it super strong, except for one. Now, that's a good thing, because that means when the season goes away, you can still use this. But for right now, the main artifact perk you need to take is Dielectric. So defeating arc debuff targets grant bolt charge. This is disgusting, and it's already working how you think it works. So again, defeating the arc debuff targets will grant the Onyx Trace, but now it also grants bolt charge. Those bolt charge are getting doubled because you're going to be amplified, because of the Onyx Trace, and the Onyx Trace will also grant you bolt charge, which gets also doubled. So literally just you throw a grenade, you get 4 bolt charge stacks. Like, it's disgusting. This also does have a boost where it rapidly defeating arc debuff targets will spawn orbs and also heal you. So if you got that boost active, it's literally going to be even better. But just on its own, getting those bolt charge stacks with everything, and the GMX topping it off, you have them 24/7. You always are at 10 bolt charge stacks. There's a new perk where you can get bolt charge when getting a kill, but you don't even need it. Like, for Warlock, at least, you don't need that perk. You will just always have 10. Now, the other artifact perks that can help out, things like overclock and load. So when you're amplified, you will get some increase in low speed, or even just when you have a bolt charge stack. So again, this will be procced all the time. You also get handling, so it's just a nice little additional benefit. Things like defibrillating blast. So when you start a champion, you actually get max bolt charge stacks. It will also cause a jolting lightning strike to come down. In between that, also you get the max bolt charge stack, so it will cause another lightning strike. It is very, very strong. It also heals you. And then finally, you also have flashover. So when you're at max bolt charge stacks, you become amplified. It's not too strong, but the main thing is the lightning bolts deal more damage. So now your bolt charge is doing even more damage. Obviously, we've already talked about how we can spam these all the time, so now they do even more damage. So again, Dielectric is disgusting with this. Flashover is a great little benefit for GM content. Defibrillating blast, I think I pronounced that correctly, is nice for that. And then overclock and loads literally just procced all the time. Dreadful Finisher to get specials is nice. Photonic Flare, if someone's severing, is also nice, but it's not like too crazy with this build. Just know that these are the main 4. Now for stats of this build, I would highly recommend 100 Resilience to get your 30% damage reduction, 100 Discipline because you want to spam your grenade all the time, so you can apply Jolt, you add clear, everything like that. And then I just go for an even mix between recovery and strength, just 60-60, because again, you want to spam your melee, you want to spam your rift. You're going to be spamming these literally all the time, especially with all the Onyx Traces you're getting, and these are going to further play into your armor mods. Now jumping into armor mods, this is what I'm running if you like to copy it down. These will change out depending a little bit on the weapons you run, so let's talk about that a little bit. So first off, Harmonic Siphon, so rapid arc weapon final blows makes it overpowered. This is a no-brainer to take. We're going to be always running arc weapons. We can make a ton of orbs. Orbs going to play into armor charge. They're going to heal you. They're going to do a ton of things for you. So you want to make as many orbs as possible on top of just granting extra super energy with everything that we already have going on. Talking about extra super energy, we also have Ashes to Assets and Dynamo. So Ashes to Assets, we get more super energy on grenade kills. We spam grenades all the time. We're going to get extra super energy. Those grenades get killed. They make the Onyx Traces. That's going to grant us extra super energy because of GMX. Dynamo, we're going to be able to spam our class ability a lot. So when we use it near targets, we get even more super energy. This is great. You can just top your super off. It is very, very strong. Next up, Harmonic Loader is very nice, obviously, because it's going to increase your reload speed of arc weapons. But if you are running something like Delicate Tomb, you don't really need it because the Onyx Traces will just reload the gun itself. So if you're taking Delicate Tomb, you can take literally anything else here. But if you are running some other arc weapons, this is a great benefit to have. Next up is just bolstering detonation and momentum transfer. So again, since we can spam our grenades a lot, now our grenades will grant class building energy and our grenades will grant melee energy whenever they hit a target. So it could further play into spamming our abilities even more. For your chest piece, always go with resistant mods. Just swap this out for whatever content you're going into. And then for our boots, I do like to take a recuperation and a better already. So now whenever we pick an orb up, we get a small chunk of health and it starts a health generation. The main thing with Arc is that it doesn't have that much survivability. The only real benefit is that you can spam your rift a lot and you have to play around your healing rift. These can just kind of further help out with survivability because all you have to do is just pick an orb up. You're making orbs all the time anyway with Harmonic Siphon, and you can heal a good amount. Survivability is a little bit better because again, now when you amplify, you will get that 15% damage reduction and enemies shoot you less. So this can just further help out with that too. Now, finally, it's just an absolution. So whenever we pick an orb up, we get cooldowns for all our abilities. Again, we want to spam our abilities all the time. If you want to solely focus on your grenade here, you totally can. But since we want to use them a lot, I just take absolution. Now, for our class item, I do like to take a bomber, so whenever we use our class ability, it will get our grenade cooldown back. This is a great little benefit, kind of the same way. If you want to take distribution over bomber, you could. It's kind of up to you here. The only reason I take bomber is because I will swap out my special finisher here. I do run special finisher if I am running Delicate Tomb or even Cold Heart, but if I'm not, I do just take things like utility kickstart just so I can get some extra class ability energy back. I run Delicate Tomb a lot. Again, it's very, very fun with this, so I just take special element finisher all the time. But the other main thing you want is powerful attraction. So with powerful attraction, you're going to pick up orbs that are around you whenever you use your class ability. So you can use your rift, you're going to pick all the orbs up, and it will further play into everything else that we have already talked about. So between all of that, you are spamming abilities, getting infinite super, getting infinite bolt charge, jolting everything, Loki blinding everything with the Onyx Sentry as well, having this also just be a buddy on the battlefield shooting things for you, and your super can do a ton of damage. But for the final part of the build, this is the transmog I'm running if you like to copy it down. Obviously, I went for a very arc theme look. I tried to make it like sort of futuristic, but I have all the electricity kind of just, you know, shocking through me. I think it actually turned out looking pretty cool. I also took advantage of like 5 different shaders instead of just using one. So if you want to make your Warlock look like this, definitely be sure to copy it down. But that is going to do it for my first build of episode Heresy. There's going to be a lot more to come. Let me know what you all think about this one in the comments below. Again, this is the one I was the most excited for, and I'm so happy it turned out to be absolutely disgusting. If you love spamming abilities, if you love spamming supers, there is literally no other build you want to run. Put this on and you are going to have an absolute blast. Anyways though, that's all from me. I wish you all the best luck putting this build together for yourself. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.